Hello, welcome everyone. My name is John Anthony Truchard. Welcome to Church Vineyards. It's a little 10-acre property here on the southern end of Napa Valley, right in Carneros. It's 4 acres of Sauvignon Blanc planted, and we're located right next to Truchard Vineyards, my mom and dad. I'll start there and just give you a little quick background. My parents, Tony and Joanne Truchard, got involved in the wine business in 1974. I was born in 1972 and was brought up very much on the grape growing side of the wine business. I separate that from the winemaking side and the sales and marketing side. So I grew up in the dirt, really, alongside my dad, who was a farmer, practiced medicine by day, nights and weekends. He was in the vineyards. Learned very much the grape growing side of the business as a child growing up. Graduated college in the mid-90s, and I really wanted to find a way to do what mom and dad did. I knew one thing for sure: it took time and money. I had a lot of time, but I had no money at all. So my mom suggested that I start a little vineyard management company. She introduced me to who's now my good friend, Oscar Renteria. He gave me some advice. I went out, started knocking on doors. I remember one day I came home and told my wife, Michelle, then girlfriend, said, okay, here's the big idea. I'm gonna start a little vineyard management company. We're gonna take those profits, we're gonna start leasing little plots of land, and then we're gonna take those grapes and start making wine. And so in the mid-90s, I started my little vineyard management company, which eventually became Farm Napa Valley. 2003, my wife and I, Michelle, we started John Anthony Vineyards and started selling wine in 2005. We're here, I leased this property in 2003. Planted some Sauvignon Blanc. I'll get into some more details on that. And today I was hoping to take you in the vineyards, show you what we're doing this time of the year. And then we're gonna do a little tour of the inside of church, and we'll finish with a tasting of our Sauvignon Blanc. Fortunately, we're doing this virtual tour on a day that we're actually out in the vineyard doing some work. And today we're shoot positioning and suckering along the cordon. So on this side, you have what the vines look like after they've been suckered. And on this side, you have what the vines look like before they've been suckered and shoot position. And the big question is, why do you do this? The main thing is you want to get light and air into the canopy. For Sauvignon Blanc specifically, there's a couple reasons why. One is way less disease pressure, so way less mildew. Also, the sun helps to ripen the fruit. Sauvignon Blanc, by its nature, tends to be grassy, maybe a cat pea flavor. Jalapenos, when the sun gets on there, those flavors burn off and you get more stone fruit and tropical flavors. And for John Anthony wines, we really want to shoot for those tropical flavors. Other reason you're suckering is so that you're putting the energy into the intended shoots. If you look here closely, each spur position has 2 shoots. Each shoot has a couple clusters. And in the perfect world, you'd have a shoot with 2 positions and then 2 clusters per shoot. Not every shoot has 2 clusters, some have 3 clusters. And that gives you nice spacing and allows the vine to focus its energy on the selected shoots. Where on this side, if you just let it grow, it becomes a very dense mass of leaves and fruit. And you can see there's just a tremendous amount of positions in here. These vines overall are very healthy, so they put a lot of suckers out, but we have to go through and clean all that out. Otherwise, what happens, you'll have underripe fruit, a lot of clusters very close together, a lot of shading, higher mildew pressure. And so that's the purpose of going through and doing this suckering. The other thing is you'll see here on some of these vines where we've got some positions open in the center. Normally we clear all these out, but these vines were planted in 2003. They're now 17 years old. And we have a little bit of Eutypa in different places, and that's a dieback. It's just what happens when the vines get old. So right here you can see there's a position that ideally would have green on it, would be growing, but it's dying back. And so we're leaving some replacement positions in the center that next winter we can come back, and if we need to replace a cordon, we have the ability to do it. One of the questions you might have is, why did I choose Sauvignon Blanc for this site? That kind of leads back to a story. When I was 8 years old, Larry Hyde's a farmer to the south of my father. And my dad always used to go out to the different farmers, different vineyard owners when we were kids and find out what were they doing, what rootstock did they use, what row direction, what scions, what worked. And we were getting a tour of Larry's vineyard, and he was talking about these suitcase clones of Pinot Noir he brought over. And I was down next to one of his creeks and tasting these big, juicy Sauvignon Blanc grapes, and they had so much flavor to them. I remember asking my dad and Larry, what type of grapes are these? And Larry said, oh, that's a Muscat clone Sauvignon Blanc that we had planted there. And I said, man, these are so delicious. Dad, how come we don't have any Sauvignon Blanc? And my dad says, oh, yeah, we're Truchards. We do Chardonnay. Chardonnay's our grape that we do. I said, okay. I remember thinking to myself when I was 8, I'm like, well, if I ever have a chance to do some Sauvignon Blanc, I'm going to do that. And so when I had the opportunity to lease this vineyard in 2003, my first call was to Larry and say, okay, what rootstock was that in? What was the trellising system you used? What was the row direction? what was the clone, and Mia Klein made a wine out of his Sauvignon Blanc called Celine, and I wanted to get that budwood, and so the optimal time to get budwood for fall grafting is right before harvest, unfortunately. And you can imagine when you're trying to take the cane off that has the grapes on it, the winemakers get kind of particular. So I had to call up Mia, and she had to meet us out there and make sure that we had protocols about how many shoots we could take per vine and which ones we could take, and so we collected our budwood and used that. So this vineyard is 75% Hyde Musquet, and then 25% the clone's either called Western or Clone 1, and Western is that really bright, acidic, produces a little more crop and more of a grower's clone. Musquet is definitely more of a grape grower's clone, not quite as productive, smaller berries, more floral in nature. So this vineyard, Church Vineyards, is 75% Musquet clone and 25% Western or Clone 1. We just do a field blend every year, and these grapes go into the resulting wines, which we can now go back to church, taste through them, and go from there. All right, we're here. We're gonna go ahead and I'm gonna walk you through our 2019 Church Vineyard Sauvignon Blanc. This is our latest release that we just bottled about a month ago. It's one of my favorite. So again, as we talked about, one of the things that we're working to accomplish in the field is to open up that canopy, let the sun and the air expose themselves to the bunches, the berries, the grapes. And another thing we'll do later this year, we'll come back and actually take some leaves off to even expose more. And I prefer our Sauvignon Blanc a little on the chillier side, so maybe not quite refrigerator temperature, maybe slightly warmer. So if you like really grassy, herbaceous, jalapeno, cat pea Sauvignon Blanc, you're not going to like ours at all. If you like rich, tropical, stone fruit, smooth, it's got beautiful acidity in it. Remember, we had 3/4 of the vineyard is Musquet clone, which is that has the rich body, floral notes, smaller berries. 25% is that Western or Clone 1, and that just gives a great backbone of acidity to the wine. This wine is also aged in barrels, so it's about 5 or 6 months of aging in barrels. And it does go through malolactic fermentation, so it gets a little bit of that softness to the wine. It's often been said if there's a Sauvignon Blanc for Chardonnay lovers, this would be one of them. That being said, there's absolutely a very distinctive Sauvignon Blanc character to it. So again, 2019 John Anthony Church Vineyard Sauvignon Blanc, and it's a perfect example of what we would hope this vineyard would express. Well, welcome to the inside of Church. This building was built originally in Pennsylvania in the late 1800s. The owners who bought this property in the late 2000s, Bob and Jerry Frame, bought this church as a kit. They brought it out here and rebuilt it when I was leasing the vineyards from them. And they lived in it till 2011. And it changed hands once in 2011, and then my wife and I acquired it in 2017. And we brought in Howard Backen's interior design team to kind of give it a nice fresh look. So all the framework is original. We put in some floors, furniture, redid the kitchen, and it just turns out to be a great place for my wife and I to host friends, industry, clients, and it's like nothing else really in the valley. Well, in closing, I'd like to have a little toast to the grape growers. The organization started in 1975, which was 1 year after my parents, Tony and Joanne, started their vineyard operations out in Carneros in 1974. A lot of you might say, well, what's the purpose of the grape growers? Today, they do a lot of wonderful things today. The two things that stand out for me is they're an advocate for the growers. Napa Valley is a beautiful, wonderful place because of the vineyards and the farming culture, and the Napa Valley grape growers are really the biggest advocate for us as growers. Secondarily, the work they do with the Farm Worker Foundation for the people in the field that we met earlier is outstanding. They provide opportunities that just simply would not exist without the Napa Valley grape growers. So for me and all my fellow vintners, to all of you, cheers, happy 45th anniversary. Grape growers, we love you guys, and look forward to seeing you all in Napa Valley. Cheers.